And it is one powerful piece. It was brought in under fraud. And what the Azarian complaint is alleging is 100% fraud. They laid it out and used emails, and I'm going to put it on the website, so go to the www.talkingracine.com, and it'll be on this episode 148, and you can read the lawsuit yourself. Start about item 34, 35 if you're familiar with Machinery Row, and it starts to bring in, now this is documentation of the fraud.
And the fraud is committed by people in the city, and those are the very people that want to shut down the observation of the city, close it off so nobody can see what's going on. I mean, it's very obviously what's going on here.
Oh, good morning. Welcome back to Talking Racine. Welcome back, George.
Thank you.
George Myers.
You, yeah. Welcome.
Jim?
Hello.
Hello.
I feel funny welcoming you because it's your place.
Yeah.
Producer, Jim Spodek. I'm Ken Yorgan, your host. Boy, we got some fun stuff today. Whoa, buddy. First, we're going to go over a letter here that was circulated and signed by a bunch of people down at City Hall. And this was done a couple, 3 months ago. But it's worth talking about now. I mean, there's been so much stuff that's occupied our attention. But we want to go back and revisit this. A formal objection to the airing of unfounded personal attacks on city officials and employees.
By the way, just throwing down, this is kind of a precursor to a new code of conduct that we'll also be discussing.
Yes,
that's kind of what this is. It precipitates this thing here. Is that, here's kind of where it all started.
Yes. The code of conduct is the illegitimate child of this this year. And did you get that? Formal objection to personal attacks on public officials, unfounded, etc., etc. We're going to show you a clip of Mr. Harry Waite, who's specifically mentioned here. Mr. Waite's comments were clearly in violation of said directions, and he should have been gavelled immediately, out of order, and admonished to refrain from such statements and tactics. So we want to play a clip that this statement is in regard to, and we'll let you decide. I mean, our personal opinion is that Mr. Waite is an intelligent man who does his research and doesn't say things that are untrue or abusive. But go ahead and play the clip, Jim. Let the viewers decide.
Good evening, Mayor Mason, Corporation Council, city officials, and interested members of the public. I wish to speak tonight about the alarming issue within the city of secrecy. Secrecy in public is a cancer. It is anti-democratic, impedes open debate and discussions of public issues, and infringes upon our rights to know what our government is doing and how and where public resources are being used and abused. City officials undermined and subverted common council authority when the city officials commissioned by the hour a $118,000 secret police study, violating city ordinances 46.39 and its subsections. A previous $6,000 study commissioned by the police union alleged underpaid officers, inconsistent supervision, low morale, sexism, racism, and the list goes on and on. As a frequent critic of law enforcement, I can attest that the $6,000 study failed to present a very important fact about the Racine Police Department. That is, the Racine Police Department is open to public scrutiny, embraces its critics with open and meaningful dialogue, and addresses citizen concerns with transparency, something the rest of Racine government could take some lessons from. It is public money that paid for the secret $118,000 police study, and there is no transparency by withholding the police study from the public. The city further engaged in secret court, squandering public funds by attacking a sitting alderman who has a stellar record as a public servant. The city filed frivolous pleadings in an effort to silence the truth. These secret court filings by the city of Racine are of national embarrassment, showcasing a secret court that will live in infamy. In 15 months as mayor, a dark shroud of secrecy has overtaken the city. It is a political phenomenon called corruption. Secret surveys, secret meetings, secret government, and secret courts. I ask the council to forward my complaint to the Ethics Committee for action. Thank you.
We all know Harry Waite, and believe me, he does not make things up. And yet what you heard obviously weren't just made up. He'd done his research on it. So these are alleged in this document that these are unfounded claims and outright lies in a manner and using terms explicitly designed to personally disparage and impugn the character and integrity of said employees and officials.
Well, and right after that sentence, my name is brought up. Ken Jorgen also made personal attacks directed at City Attorney Letney. No, it wasn't personal. It was professional. I have no.
You attacked.
I don't care about him personally.
You named him.
I think he's a terrible public official, and I don't mind sharing that opinion with people and explaining the facts upon which I base that opinion.
Right. No, there was nothing personal about it. It was after things that he did with regards to his position as city attorney.
Oh, abuse of authority.
But Harry Waite, that does not. It doesn't fit that at all. What you heard were facts that were researched and well founded in reality.
Mm-hmm.
But at any rate, that was.
But there it is for you to take a look at. Now, something that came out of that is public comments guidelines.
Yeah, we lengthened the guidelines a little bit.
Yeah. We actually went back and did a little research. Well, and I say we. Chief researcher here, Mr. Spodek. I don't know how you keep all this stuff archived, but...
Piles.
Yeah, we go back to 2006, and it's the public comments period guidelines under Mayor Gary Becker, and then we go to 2012, and it's the public comments guidelines under John Dickert, and then we come up to date in 2019, and what Mr. Corey Mason, our current mayor, has instituted as guidelines for public discussion. Why don't we show people how this has kind of progressed?
Now, the first one now takes. If you look at it,
let them look at it.
12 seconds. Right? That's what it is. There's a little bit of shuffling of papers, but then when the actual introduction is 12 seconds.
Well, as long as you let the cat out of the bag, we'll share what all of them are. It's 10 seconds, actually.
10 seconds?
I mean,
okay.
12 is like, it counts for paper shuffling. 12 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever. 23 seconds in 2012. Man, we're up over a minute now in 2019. So go ahead and play those clips and let people see how this is expanded.
Public comments.
Yes, Your Honor, and members of the council. We have several people that have signed up to speak. Before we start, I would like to remind everyone that each speaker has 3 minutes and that there is to be no debate, no discussion, no dialogue, and no interaction among the speakers, elected officials, or staff. Our first speaker is...
There was the 12-second version. We decided 12 seconds, 10 seconds. The very short version, just... That's it. Now the next version, the John Dickert version.
Right.
Public comments.
The public comment segment is an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to the Common Council. It is not intended to be a debate or discussion. There should be no dialogue or interaction between the speaker, elected officials, or the staff. City staff will endeavor to respond at a later time to individuals who present a specific question. Speakers will limit their remarks to 3 minutes, and we will be using a timer system up here. Our first speaker tonight...
That took a little longer. It's still bearable.
It's still reasonable, yeah.
And, one of the things in there was, we'll get back to you. If you have a question, we'll get back to you. Which was, I thought, good. And then that's when the timer came out. That's when the 30-second or 3-minute timer was out. And if you noticed, he moved on his desk. He had an egg timer. He actually put it there, so we're going to make sure it's only 3 minutes. That's the high tech that moved in 2012. Then they eventually
was it a digital egg timer?
I don't know. I couldn't tell, but it was an egg timer.
And now the full-fledged. Here we go. Get ready for a little speech.
Yeah, we've got it down to a science now.
the public comment segment is an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to the Common Council. Speakers will limit their remarks to 3 minutes. There shall be no dialogue or interaction between the speaker and elected officials or staff. This time is not intended to be a debate or discussion. The Common Council shall not hear personal complaints or attacks against any city employee or elected official or any matter related to an individual claim, citation, appeal, or lawsuit. Profane, disruptive, threatening, or conduct that otherwise impedes the safe, orderly, and effective conduct of the Common Council meeting is equally unacceptable during the public comment period, as it is during all other portions of city meetings. When a group of people representing one viewpoint wishes to address the council, one person should appear the designated speaker for the group. Candidates for public office may not use this opportunity to campaign for office. Speakers during the public comment period shall follow all rules of the Common Council and rulings of the chair, including a decision to terminate the remarks if the speaker does not adhere to the rules. Public comment shall be limited to ideas or concerns regarding the City of Racine. There will be 9 speakers this evening.
Oh, boy.
Hope you didn't get yawning on that one, but that was the full minute and, what was it, minute, 12 seconds? Yeah.
Yeah.
In other words, it's 7 times as long now. That's what we came out. Yeah.
But I mean, the average citizen, I think, if you go down and you hear that, if you're going down to City Hall and you got a complaint and you hear that, I mean, you're going to be nervous.
Well, it's intimidating. It's absolutely intimidating, and you know, you're supposed to be able to address your alderman or common council with an issue.
It's trying to rein in people, control what they say. Let's not have any more of this Harry Waite stuff where you get up there and talk about, you know,
or actually talk about issues. You know, and I mean, and we bring a lot up on the show, but there is a lot of issues at City Hall. And why did from 2006 to 2019 there was such a drastic change in public comment? Why?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Why? I mean, what's the difference? 2006, the folks in 2006 are no different than they are in 2019. The same issues within the city. They're still, you know, being represented by...
That's a good point, yeah.
You know, what's the difference?
Not been a complete turnover. A new generation hasn't come in
right.
yet.
Nobody has said, oh, geez, I want to be controlled and I want to be censored.
Well, you know? Why are people angrier? I have to agree that there is probably more contentious speech making down at City Hall and before these meetings, because people have become more and more upset with what's going on.
Well, I agree, but I think in general, I think people have less trust in government is one thing.
Well, absolutely.
And of course, you know, government says, hey, we're going to keep this closer. I mean, again, we can go back to open records, we can go back to secret courts, all of that information, all that leads to, instead of saying, let's clean it up, let's be open to the public, let's engage the public, they do the exact opposite.
I think that's more what it is. I think there's a greater fear factor up there now at the mayor's office that's going down into the staff, getting amongst the staff, and maybe amongst the aldermen too. I don't know about that. I don't know. Certainly no one was going to intimidate Keith Fair when he was on there, and Mike Shields. They were gutsy guys, and their replacements, I don't know.
Yeah, Eric Marcus was another one. I mean, he was an attorney. You weren't going to pull the wool over this guy's eyes. He knew what was right. He knew what the law was, and he knew what the representation of citizens meant. And I truly believe that we have lost a lot of the interaction between public and government and public. I mean, it's a community. You still have a community, and you're supposed to interact because it's the taxpayers' money, and there should be a give and take. You do have a representative, but that doesn't make them the king, and that's, I think, where we're headed with Corey Mason. I think he has this king mentality.
I think so too, and some of the evidence of that is this new code of conduct for elected officials, which is what this is all heading down. Now, those instructions for the 3-minute period are kind of get the public in line. You know, all right, now you guys got to, us people, when we get up there and talk, we have to really shape our act up, and let's not get too critical of things and whatever.
No, they scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but now we've got to this 8 pages, or what is it?
9. I think 9 pages of code of conduct.
Well, the last page has only got a sentence. But anyway,
code of conduct for elected officials.
Yeah, code of conduct for elected officials, and this I see as being directed right at the Common Council. You're trying to get the Common Council to bring it down to the level of the staff as far as activity goes and getting out there and speaking your mind goes. And I quite frankly see 3 main paragraphs in here. It's a 8 or 9 page document, and it's just loaded with intimidating things about
And if you're on the Common Council, listen up.
Yeah,
Specifically, this discussion is for you.
This is to rein in. Put the blinders on. Get the shackles onto the Common Council and get them in line and under control. The first one is on the first page. Refrain from disclosing any information received confidentially concerning the business of the city or received during any closed session held pursuant to state law. In other words, this is trying to contract what the council members are allowed to talk to other people about. The purpose is to close down City Hall, keep it confidential. What behind closed doors stays behind closed doors. Let's not be revealing too much. And the enforcement of that, you get down to it's on page 4, Code of Conduct. It says the council shall be the judge of the election and qualification of its members, and may compel their attendance, and may fine or expel for neglect of duty. Now that part comes out of state statutes, we found out. That's right in the state statute, but the rest gets added on to that state statute. Neglect of duty is the omission to perform a duty, which includes the failure to comply with this code of conduct.
Yeah, I mean, some of these things
So there you go. If you're going to disclose that stuff now, if you get out and you speak out, then the council can expel you from the
Well, it adds on. It actually goes deeper. Go ahead, Ken.
Who's going to lead the council in the expulsion of a particular member?
That's the problem.
And I think it's the person who formulated this document, and that person is Mr. Scott Letney, the city attorney. Now, let's refer back to his biography from the 2017 Municipal Attorneys Institute of Speakers. And Mr. Scott Letney was one of the speakers, and in his bio, as it was written by him, he writes his legal practice focuses primarily on labor and employment law, contracts, claims, litigation, general municipal law, and corralling elected officials. Now, I'm sure he was trying to be cute there, but it bespeaks of his clear intentions to be in control of the city council.
That is exactly.
Now, I want to go one step further here because I want to read the state statute. Now, when we read the Code of Conduct in the City of Racine, neglect of duty is the omission to perform a duty, including but not limited to continuing or repeated substantial neglect of responsibilities of an elected official as defined by law, unauthorized absences, excessive tardiness, excessive absence, and failure to comply with the Code of Conduct. Now let's read the state statute, which he puts in here, 6211(3)(a). And it says, the council shall be the judge of the election and qualifications of its members, may compel their attendance, and may fine or expel for neglect of duty. That's all. It says nothing about the Code of Conduct. This is their writing, and this is the way to hold a hammer over the alderpersons. And if you don't do what we say, if you're not trustworthy to us, then we are going to put this forth and have you expelled. I mean, it's almost like a witch hunt.
Well, and the problem that we see this, and we'll say to the council, council members as well as anybody that wants to hear it, is that what we've watched and seen is this council has become so controlled by the mayor. Yeah. He puts something
and the city attorney.
But on actual things that come to the floor, if the mayor presents it, it gets passed. And our concern and our concern is that the mayor could decide, and with the city attorney obviously backing him up, that this alderman has violated. One of the aldermen has violated this code of conduct and should be expelled from the council. And if the mayor comes up and says that, my concern is that the council will just follow along like sheep, like it's been doing with everything else, and will expel that member. And a member that has a rightful duty there, his constituents or her constituents put the person there, and they have the right to stay there and not be expelled.
It's not the expel
because of something.
The alderman or the city attorney or the mayor. It's expelled by the vote of the representative. That's how you get expelled, not through tardiness and excessive absences, or the code of conduct, which is a catch-all to do anything they want at the administrative level. This is total, absolute BS.
Well, in the way it's written here, it almost looks like it's part of the statute.
Yeah, exactly, and it's total.
It's not clear that this neglect of duty and the following statement about it is something that was formulated by the city attorney.
Yeah,
it's his opinion attached to a statute, which makes it look like it's part of the statute. It's not.
And then the thing is this thing is 7 pages long, and unfortunately, most council members will read through it and all right, all this type of stuff. But what's really there, the thing that the city attorney wants, and we've seen it from Harry Waite. And we've seen it from this expansion of the instructions to people that are making comments, and now they're going to put it into the to the council itself. Is this expressing yourself and getting out and saying things that they don't feel you should be saying or disclosing? The last paragraph also says something that's very revealing. The council members shall not discuss personnel issues or other matters regarding individual city staff in the traditional or non-traditional news media. Now, if they're going to talk about us, our name is not non-traditional news media. We are Talking Racine. All right, so if we just, it'd be
nice if they put a little, bio in for us.
You at least use capital letters there. They put it in all small caps, and Talking Racine has got capital T and capital R. But anyway, and any issues pertaining to city staff should only be addressed directly to the employee administrative manager or to the city administrator.
Well, here's one that I like here, though, on page 5. Section 4, letter B. Be attentive to speakers during public comment and public input periods. Well, I think that's a good recommendation.
If we could remove the mayor from when he doesn't do that.
Oh my God, he's a study in inattentiveness.
The problem is this doesn't apply to the mayor. This only applies to the council members.
Right. Well, and there are plenty of council members too that are like, when is this guy going to?
Here's the other one. Learn and study the background and purposes of items of business coming before the common council. We got 30 seconds. You drop it on your desk, get a vote on it. If you don't vote on it, we can't trust you as an alder person. I mean, it is so.
That's true. I mean, things that are the agenda a lot of times doesn't come out.
They don't even know what they're getting. They drop it on them, and then all of a sudden make this decision.
And then the problem is you can hold this over the person. This is like we say. This is an attempt to intimidate and corral and control the common council member. The common council runs the city. That's the way it's set up under state statute. That's the way this city is set up. The common council directs it. What's happening? The mayor and the staff carry out the council's wishes. That's the way it's supposed to be. This thing brings the council members down to the level of city administrators and the city employees. It puts them on an equal level with them, and at the top now is the mayor and the city attorney. And that's not the way it's supposed to be, but that's what this document does. And these 7 other pages, I think, is just flack. It's just noise to hide those
couple of little kernels
we really want to shut down the council. Don't be talking to other people about what we tell you, because that's not for the public at large. And if you do that, we can throw you off the council. The council can throw you off. Your constituents don't have to come and do a recall. We can throw you off right here with 8 people.
Well, why don't they want the council talking to the public anyway? Are they afraid that the public is going to find out things, or that the council will find out things, like what happened at Machinery Row?
I think it's this non-traditional news
story
media.
To the arena, or any of these other failed projects that
now that you bring that up,
millions of dollars.
There was a lawsuit, a response to a motion to dismiss on the Azarian Wrecking versus the City of Racine. And this response came back to the city's request for dismissal, and it is one powerful piece. It was brought in under fraud, and what the Azarian complaint is alleging is 100% fraud. They laid it out and used emails, and I'm going to put it on the website, so go to the www.talkingracine.com, and it'll be on this episode 148, and you can read the lawsuit yourself. Start about item 34, 35 if you're familiar with Machinery Row, and it starts to bring in, now this is documentation of the fraud.
And the fraud is committed by people in the city, and those are the very people that want to shut down the observation of the city, close it off so nobody can see what's going on. I mean, it's very obviously what's going on here. And this whole thing with Machinery Row that we've been talking about forever, and in some other cases now coming up, yeah, that's what they need to do, close it down. And that's what this code of conduct, I think, is really all about. It's about furthering
all of
that cause,
like that.
Closing the city down, trying to portray it as a code of conduct for elected officials, but it's really just a way to keep things quiet. Draw the curtain. Pull the shades down, you know.
But why would anybody be angry? I mean, there has been no waste of public funds in this town, has there? No.
What's $1 million or $2 million there?
Yeah, whatever.
Taxes and fees.
Well, I think, you know, and one of the
forever.
things in the Azarian lawsuit is it brings up the $470,000 that was misappropriated on the DNR promenade that was supposed to go. That was never used for that. That money's
That was such a scam. That was just the
gosh.
most beautiful scam ever. You talk about shills and...
We called that out when it was still in the process.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't take much. I mean, what the Common Council has to do is really critically think about like what comes in front of them.
Yeah, don't
take
get
a
caught
minute.
up in this morass of corruption and secrecy and stupidity.
Ask the questions,
Jeez.
really. And, you know, once it comes
We're
back...
counting on you guys.
Yeah.
And somehow they have to be able to feel free to say what they want to say the way they want to say it. You know, sometimes you to make an impact, you have to say things. Sometimes you have to shout.
Yeah.
You know
what?
Yeah. Sometimes you got to talk back. And if you're afraid to do that because you could get thrown off the council, that's not good. I think this whole thing could be summed up in 12 words of the Golden Rule: "Do unto others as you would others do unto you." I think that summarizes a lot of it. And the other thing is conflict of interest. You know, you don't need 7 pages or 8 pages to talk about conflict of interest. You know, there's one phrase in here that makes it almost a crime or a violation of the Code of Ethics if you go out and represent one of your constituents and their personal desires, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Where they could have a personal gain, your constituent, by getting something done at City Hall.
You know why that should be prohibited? It might run counter to City Hall's plans.
Well, that's it, you know, and so when you look at that you're proving this, and I'm talking to a council member now, any council member. You are endangering your ability to defend an individual in there, a businessman, any business that's in your district, or even somebody that wants to come in and develop something in the district. Those 3 particular categories are lined up right in here, saying that it could be a conflict of interest. And you know when it's a conflict of interest, and a code of conduct just that starts labeling things like that just confuses it, because now,
well, it's you know, like you always say, truth is easy. You can find out truth. When somebody tells you the truth, it's easy.
Truth is always simple.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing I found out about the truth. It's always simple, it's easy to observe, and it's yours. If you see something really complex, you can't understand it, you know why that is? Because there's a whole bunch of lies covering it up.
Yeah,
and when you go to try and solve it, all you're doing is just get rid of the lie, get rid of this lie, get rid of that lie, and you eventually get down to the truth and you say, oh, here's the truth. That's always simple.
Well, in
it's
closing,
easy to observe. It's yours.
in closing, I hope that we've given you something to think about and reflect on today. And I'm going to double down here at the last minute.
Go for it.
Yeah. Ken Jorgen also made personal attacks directed at City Attorney Scott Letney. I think he's a bad public official and he should be out of that office. We'll see you next Monday.